Hello everybody, my name is Elena. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're doing my September wrap-up. Just before we start, I just want to say there won't be an October TBR video doing the TBR card game, you know, the thing I do every single month. There won't be a video like that because I am on the cusp of a reading slump and I'm not doing that to myself. I'm just gonna mood read for the month and not care about my physical TBR or anything like that. I'm just gonna read what I want. Now that we got that out of the way, we're gonna start off with the stats like I do every month. In September, I read 14 books and the average rating was 3.47. So kind of middle of the road. We read some good books, we read some not so good books, and I'm gonna talk about them. First book that I read honestly put like a really good start to the month because I read Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman. This is the second book in the Arc of Aside series. It's actually a trilogy, I think, and then there's like a little novella at the end that's like a collection of the Scythe journals or whatever. So I read the second one. I listened to it on audiobook and I gave it 4.25 stars. I will say if you want to read this series, I highly recommend actually reading it physically. I feel like you'll enjoy it that way more. Even though the audiobooks are really good, I just kind of wish that I had read them physically so I could annotate and stuff like that. And I feel like I would have picked up on things more had I read them through the paperbacks that I own instead of like listening to them on audiobook. Still really enjoyable. I was really excited to read this one because my friend read Scythe before me and she really liked it. And then I read Scythe and I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. And she actually read this book and didn't like it. So I really wanted to know if I would like it or not, if I would like share her opinion on things and stuff. And I ended up really liking it. I thought this book was done really well. What she didn't like about the book was the ending. I thought it was really well done and I think it matches the story really well. However, I do understand why she would be annoyed. So maybe like go into it a bit hesitant into the second book and then see if you like it. This is a dystopian series, so it's like way into the future. Humanity have conquered everything like hunger, war, and even death, and now they're faced with the problem of overpopulation. So there's these people that train to be scythes, and scythes are what that society uses to control overpopulation because they do something called gleaning, which is basically killing people through an algorithm. So like the way that people in this day and age die from like car crashes or fires and stuff like that, or like accidents, they kind of simulate that. So in the first book, Citra and Rowan are just regular kids and they get picked up to be apprentices to a scythe, and then the story just unravels from there. I don't want to tell you anything else because it's best to go in blind and just see where the story takes you. I actually really like Neal Shusterman's writing in this. There's some really good quotes. Scythe has probably one of the best first lines that I've ever read in a book. So do with that what you will. And then I read a not so good book. I loved the first 100 pages of this book, which is what made it so upsetting that I ended up not liking it by the end because I was obsessed in the first like 100, 150 pages. I thought it might be 5 stars and then it really fell off for me. The book is Pretend You're Mine by Lucy Score. I really enjoyed Lucy Score's writing. That hasn't changed. What I didn't like about this book is that they got into the relationship so fast. And I don't know if I had the wrong expectations that this was slow burn, but like this is not a small romance book. So I was expecting a little bit more tension and stuff like that, and they just fell into the relationship really quickly, and every time something serious was happening, they were banging, and I was like, okay, I get it. You're into each other and all that, but they like didn't have one conversation where they just sat down and they talked and they bonded. It was really emphasizing the physical aspect of the relationship and not anything else, which is what I didn't like about it. The guy in this I actually kind of liked. I liked how broody he was and stuff like that. The characters didn't annoy me that much. I just really didn't like how the story unraveled. This is a military romance. Basically, this girl gets cheated on. I don't remember her name. Harper. There we go. Harper gets cheated on, and then she's like, you know what, I'm gonna go over to my friend's town, and while she's there, she gets stranded because her car runs out of gas, and she's in this small, tiny town, and she gets into a brawl at the bar because she sees a man assaulting a woman. She helps out, slay, and she meets this broody guy called Luke Garrison, which is the brother of the girl that owns the bar. And she ends up staying with him, and they strike up this fake dating deal because his family is constantly on his ass about getting into a relationship and settling down and stuff like that because something happened in his past and they're kind of worried about him, and that's kind of where the story starts. Obviously, I thought it was an interesting premise because I picked it up, but I ended up being disappointed by it and I gave it 2.5 stars. Next book I read was All the Stars and Teeth by Adelyne Grace. I do own this book, but I don't have it because I gave it to my friend, the same friend that read Scythe. I gave it to her and she's actually really enjoying it so far. I give it 3 stars and I will explain why. This is like a YA fantasy and it is very YA, and I think it's perfect if you're getting into fantasy. It wasn't anything like groundbreaking or shocking, but it was really enjoyable. I thought that it was a really solid YA fantasy. It's just, I don't know if I'm kind of outgrowing the YA fantasy genre or if this one was a bit too YA, so I couldn't give it any more than 3 stars. I just kind of didn't get connected to the characters. The plot wasn't that complex and stuff, even though it was interesting. I think it's a solid read, again, especially for someone that's getting into fantasy, or if you don't like a very complicated fantasy but still like to be immersed in a world that is not this world. I think it's perfect for you. In no way does it have like bad writing or anything. I actually think the premise of it is really interesting. I also don't know how to explain it, so you're gonna have to look it up yourself, but I thought it was really good. It just wasn't anything like groundbreaking for me. And then I read 2 books from the same series. It's the Black Hawk Security series, I think is what it's called, if I'm not mistaken. I read the first 2 books, which is, the first one is The Seal and the second one is The Bodyguard, and they are both by Juliet N. Banks. The first one, The Seal, I gave a 3.5 stars, and The Bodyguard I gave 3 stars. These are like no-brainer, really easy, spicy books. I don't think I remember what these books are about, to be completely honest with you. I enjoyed them. Any book that I've rated 3 stars or above, I've enjoyed. So I really liked them. Specifically the first book, I think it's, I think this girl's famous, or she has a famous dad. That's it. Her dad's a famous musician, and she used to have a stalker, and then the situation kind of dwindled down. And then he releases another single with his band, and she gets the stalker again, and her dad hires this guy that works for Black Hawk Security. I think he's the owner of it. Or I think all 3 of the main guys are the owners, or whatever. He calls this Black Hawk Security company and hires a bodyguard for her, and he used to be a Navy SEAL. So I thought it was actually really fun. I liked the bodyguard aspect of it, obviously. That's why I started reading it. I am obsessed with bodyguard romances, in case you're new to this channel and didn't know that. Now you do. I thought it was really solid, really fun, just easy to read. I did prefer it over the second book, because the second book, The Bodyguard, I gave 3 stars. I just feel like I didn't feel the connection between the characters that much, but it was still quite enjoyable. I wanted to read the third book, which is called The Marine, and then realized that it's not out yet. So I'll read that when it comes out. I don't know when it comes out. Is it November? It's either this month or next month. Don't remember which one, but it comes out soon, so I will be reading that one as well. And then I wanted an audiobook, but I wanted something that's quite short, and realized that out of this novella bind-up by Ali Hazelwood called Loath to Love You, there's 3 little novellas. So there's, what are they called? Oh yeah, Under One Roof, Stuck With You, and Below Zero. So I had read Under One Roof and Stuck With You, gave them both 4 stars or 4.25 stars, really enjoyed them, but I hadn't read Below Zero, even though that was the one that I was the most excited about. And then I decided to listen to the audiobook. So I did, and I actually really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.25 stars. Loved the way the story was paced. Obviously, it's quite short because it's a novella. It's like 100 and something pages, like it's less than 200 pages. Really nice. There is a hint of spice in it, but it's not overwhelming. I really liked the characters. The guy in Below Zero, so hot, so good, love him. So I highly recommend actually the novellas. I feel like not a lot of people talk about them, but they're actually like genuinely good novellas if you just want like something quick. And then I saw a book being recommended on my TikTok, and it was Hidden Empire by K.L. Mann. Man. Don't know which one, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna say man because I feel like it's man. This is a chunker of a book. It's like 500 plus pages or something, and it's a mafia romance, but it's a really interesting spin on it, which is what I liked because it has a very heavy emphasis on found family. Basically, this girl lives with her mom and her stepdad, and she's getting like abused and stuff like that. I'm not gonna get into it because you find out later in the story everything that happens, but she's just not having a very nice time. As her mom gets arrested, the police officer's like asking her, does she have anyone else to stay with? And her mom's like, actually, she does. And turns out that her dad is actually a mafia boss. and she goes to live with him, but he also has like 9 sons, and all of them like meet her and they really like her because like she's their little sister. Like she's younger than all of them, so they really like her and they're like all protective of her. And I really enjoyed the characters. All of them were really different. Like there's a lot of characters, but they're so well done. I thought they were very fleshed out. I cannot wait for the other books. I think Emilio is the oldest of the brothers and I absolutely adore him. I cannot wait for his book. There is also obviously a romance because she goes to this basically like an academy or a school for all these like mafia children, and it's set on this island. So you have that part of the book, and she meets a guy there that she's not really supposed to be in cahoots with, but they end up falling for each other. And I love the way that the story unraveled. I feel like it did drag a little bit near the middle, and then immediately something happens. There's a trope in here that I don't think people will be very excited about. However, I thought it made the story so interesting. So I highly recommend that you read it. It is pretty fast-paced. It is long, but I think it's really interesting and definitely worth the read. And I also think it's like a debut book for this author, if I'm not mistaken. That's crazy because this book was so good. I don't know if I mentioned, but I gave it 4 stars. And then I felt myself getting into a reading slump because I went on holiday, didn't read anything. That should have been my first sign. The fact that I didn't read anything while I was at the beach and had access to the beach, that should have been enough of a sign for me. I decided to continue a manga series that I started earlier this year, and that is Naruto. I started it because my cousin told me, actually he told me to watch it, but because I'm a reader, I was like, I'm gonna read it and then I'm gonna watch it. The next volume I needed to pick up was volume 9, and I picked up volume 9 and volume 10 just physically, just because I felt like if I didn't pick it up physically, I never would have continued reading the series. So I own them now, and I'm actually really excited that I own these 2 volumes because I really enjoyed them. For now, my favorite volume is volume 13, so I need to get my hands on it because if you didn't know, my favorite character is Kakashi, and there's a moment in that manga, in that volume specifically, there's a moment where he slays. Like, he does every single time, but this one was like an extra of a slay. So I should pick that up so I can put it on my shelves. But that's what I read, and I'm really enjoying it so far. Actually, yesterday night, I couldn't fall asleep. I couldn't tell you why, but I couldn't fall asleep. So instead of trying to torture myself and laying there doing nothing with my eyes closed, I decided I should read something. So I picked up Twisted Emotions by Cora Riley, or read it that same night. The second that I finished it, I was like, I love this book, 4.5 stars. And then I kind of calmed down a little bit, drank some water, touched some grass, and I decided that I actually didn't like the way that women were portrayed in the book. Like, everything was fine between the main couple. I love the main couple, absolutely loved their dynamic, everything that was happening with them, absolutely loved it. Like, Nino Falcone could do no wrong in my eyes. I don't like how, besides the main character, I don't like how the other women in the series, or in that book, were treated. It was kind of misogynistic. So I was like, I'm gonna have to dock off points. I also think the book ended really abruptly, so I ended up giving it 3.75 stars, which still isn't a bad rating. I still really enjoyed the book. It's a mafia romance. It's an arranged marriage, and she has a lot of trauma in her past, and he's a sociopath, but he's literally the sweetest to her, and there is a found family plot. And I will say, I really like the bond between the brothers. That's something that got me in the first book, and surprise, the next one, because I also read the 3rd book in the series called Twisted Pride. I was really excited about that book because it was Remo's book, and I really liked him in Twisted Emotions. Did not like him in Twisted Pride. I actually was hating the book, but I kept reading it because it was entertaining, but I was kind of hating it. And then near the end, there's a plot twist that I feel like people would hate. It's actually the same plot twist that's in Hidden Empire. Anyways, it had a plot twist, and I actually think it added a lot to the book. And that's what saved the book for me, because then I ended up giving it 3 stars. The mistreatment of women was kind of really present in Twisted Pride, so I didn't like that. I know Twisted Emotions is technically the 2nd book, but I'm really not interested in reading the 1st book. However, I will continue the series when I'm in the mood to read it. And that is the last book that I actually read in September. So not too bad. I still read a lot of books. I just feel myself getting into a reading slump, and I'm kind of disappointed by it, and I think I should take a break from all the TBRs and just mood read and read what I want and just not put so much pressure on myself and make reading fun again. So that is it for this video. Those are the books that I read. Thank you so much for watching. You can like, comment, subscribe if you would like, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.